This is the all-new 2024 Mazda CX-90. In this review, we're going to check out all the features and then test its performance, both on-road and off. That's coming up right now on Driving Sports TV. It's not very often that we get to review a brand new crossover that is, in fact, all new. But here it is, the 2024 Mazda CX-90. From the exterior design, to the engine, to the interior, to the... Wait, is that the same old Mazda infotainment system? Let's do this over. This is the 2024 Mazda CX-90. It is a large three-row crossover that is 99% all new. If there were any doubts about the Japanese car maker's upscale aspirations, a rear-wheel drive platform with an inline-6 cylinder engine should be enough to set the record straight. The model we're testing here today is the top-of-the-line S Premium Plus trim with room for 6. The only option being the artisan red paint, which here actually looks a little bit more brown or maroon. Yeah, I think I can call this burgundy. As you see it here, you're looking at $61,920 US including destination. Though a turbo 4-cylinder is available, under the hood of upper trims is the 3.3-liter Turbo 6, combined with a mild 48-volt hybrid system. This produces a peak 340 horsepower and 369 pound-feet of torque. It is connected to an 8-speed automatic transmission with a planetary gear and wet clutch for direct shifts. Looking at these specs, it's pretty clear that Mazda was targeting the BMW X5 with this S Premium Plus trim. But considering the lower starting price of the CX and the fact that it's a Mazda, I think it's also fair to compare this against another very popular three-row crossover, the Kia Telluride, which we reviewed recently. EPA rates economy of the CX-90 at 23 miles to the gallon in the city and 28 on the highway, or 25 mpgs combined. That is 1 mpg better than the BMW and 3 mpgs better combined than the Kia. Towing capacity is rated at 5,000 pounds. And if there were any doubts about the Japanese car maker's aspirations to move upscale, I think a new turbo inline-6 with a rear-wheel drive platform should pretty much set the record straight. And just look at it. This thing kind of looks like it could very well be a BMW. Now let's take a look in the back. In terms of cargo space, the SAE reading is 15.9 cubic feet behind the third row. Fold that row down and you get 40.1 cubic feet. With all rows folded flat, you get 75.2 cubic feet overall. As extra bonuses in the back here, you get lighting in multiple locations. You also get a 120 volt AC as well as a DC power socket. Under the floor, what do we got here? Oh, lift that up. What do we got? Oh, we have a partial spare with tools. If you were to compare this against the very popular Kia Telluride, you'd find that this one comes up short by 10 cubic feet. However, this does best the BMW X5 by a few feet, so that's good. Ah yes, time for an adult to get into the third row. Pull this forward. Oh, there we go. Okay, now in terms of knees, I have room. My head also shockingly has room. And it's mostly because this seat is so low. My knees are almost up to my chest here. It feels kind of ridiculous. That said, I do kind of fit back here. I wouldn't want to be back here for very long though as an adult. Kids will probably find it just fine. Now I do get USB-C power socket and I get 2 cup holders. It's a lot of beverages back here. And I even get my own window, which is nice. Oh, also a vent. I think overall this is tight, but not bad. Oof. Now that I'm out of the third row, let's see where this seat actually was positioned. Right there. Now if I try to sit here, oh yeah, I got no leg room. So Obviously, if you want to give legroom for the third row, you're seriously going to compromise the second row. Going all the way back, I now have plenty of room for my legs. I am 6'1", legs and torso proportionate, and I fit, but I do feel like I'm sitting very high here. Now I can lean this back, which is nice. And this being a captain's chair configuration, I have a storage bin, cup holders where I can just put a device. I can also put a device up here. What else do we have? Down here we have both seat heating and cooling, 2 USB-C sockets, and my own aircon and vents. It's a pretty nice setup. Oh, and when you turn on the aircon for the seat, see if you can hear this. It's very loud. The CX-90 here is available in 3 different seating configurations, 6, 7, or 8 passenger designs. This one is a 6-passenger. And it's, yeah, not bad. But let's check out that first row. Oh, I also get window screens. Okay, well, this color scheme is interesting. Power it up. You know, nothing sounds quite like an Inline-6. I'm very happy to see that Mazda put one out on their push upscale, because you can't go upscale with a Turbo 4. You just can't, not even in 2023/2024. So what do we have here? The overall design, I just don't like. Now, we're talking colors and materials right now. The choice of like this yellowish wood tone with this earthy fabric that, oh man, this is not, I just can't imagine this looking even slightly good in a few years with this little zigzag stitching. Oh man. And then these metal swoops with these little cut lines in them. And then on top of that, you have this plastic that, I am not joking, this looks like it's straight off of my 2004 Mazda 3 that I paid $16,500 for in 2004. Like literally that. Actually, I have the Mazda 3 right over here. So this is our 2004 Mazda 3. We bought this brand new in 2004 for, I think it was $16,500. The only option on it were the alloy wheels. This has provided decent transportation since we bought it new. It has about 90,000 miles on it, and currently my daughter has actually started to drive it. So I want to show you something on the inside here though. Okay, so in terms of plastic, it looks exactly like what's in the CX-90. I feel like, can't we move past this Fisher-Price cheap hard plastic? Come on, Mazda, move on. Oh, and if you're also noticing, yeah, the glue's failed on this vehicle. All the panels, the fabric is falling off. We need to re-glue this. So when I get into the CX-90 and I see all of this fabric applied to the surfaces, I have my doubts. Okay, with that in mind, now let's go take a look inside the CX-90. The color is different, but it might as well be out of the exact same car. It's the same hard plastic with that kind of awful faux leather texture. Yeah, not liking that. And then of course we have the reappearance of Mazda's out of date infotainment system. And if it was older and it functioned well, then maybe I would kind of accept it, but it requires a jog shuttle while you're driving, and it's cumbersome to use. It doesn't do a lot. The menu structure, it's not great. I mean, there's just a lot of things I don't care for with this system. One thing that is nice here, though, is that it has really good cameras. And this does come with a surround view, which is a little on the small side over there, but you can at least see what's going on. And that front view camera is actually pretty good for the class. So that is all good. But, oh man, just absorbing this whole thing, I'm just like, there's so much going on here. You have this fabric with this stitch, with this color, with this hard plastic, with these seats that have another blue accent down the middle. Thankfully, there are other interiors available. One thing I do like here is the steering wheel. This is a very nicely leather-wrapped steering wheel. It has slimline buttons in the middle, paddle shifters on the back, no complaints here. Gauge cluster, really nice. It is a large digital display and it has multiple interfaces depending on the mode that you're in, which is yet another cool feature. If I push the cruise control button here, it changes to be a safety-oriented screen. Also, it changes my heads-up display. This is all good stuff. Hit it again, and it goes back to the 3-gauge layout. Now, I can do some customizations, but it's not a lot. What do I have here? Down here, there's an info button. I can toggle this tiny little insert on the right, which gives me a little bit of extra info. I can see that I'm getting 24.5 mpgs right now, which is really good considering the power output of this vehicle. If I go into the safety screen, that same toggled information exists in the same place. It's fine. But overall, I actually do like the design of this screen. This is really nice. It's just too bad that this is still here. Now, on the plus side, this does have a nice implementation of Apple CarPlay. It is wireless. When you plug it in, it prompts you to engage wireless. Of course, with wireless CarPlay, you can either run plugged in for USB power, or you can use the included wireless charging pad up there. The wireless CarPlay integration is what saves this infotainment system. Now, on the Mazda side of things, I don't care for their entertainment menu. I don't like their navigation, but the settings, there's some interesting stuff here that you just don't see in other cars. So if we go to, where is it? It's under safety settings. And I go to driver's assistance, and then if I go down to traffic sign speed limit sync, so it'll match your speed if you're on cruise control at the time that you pass a speed limit sign. This is the cool part. You can pick to offset that speed. I've never seen that. So if you want to do 10 over, yeah, you can say, read that sign, but do +10. As my daughter, who's currently in driver's ed, said, why do they allow that? As somebody who's driven for many years, I'm very glad that they have that. But you should never break the law, ever. In here, we can also set up all the different things. This, of course, does have radar-based cruise control. It is adaptive. It also has lane detection. Does not have lane centering, though. Another missed feature if you're going to be competing with the big boys. But Mazda's always like, oh no, drivers want to be able to drive and experience it. And yeah, the competition offers it, so you should too, Mazda. But it has all the other stuff. It has blind spot warning, road cross traffic alerts, all that. Now, in terms of comfort, this seat not only looks like a marshmallow, it's about as comfortable as a marshmallow, which is actually a very good thing. You can't eat it, but you can certainly sit on it. We get physical switchgear down here for the multi-zone climate control, as well as all the seat functions. We have heating, cooling, and a heated steering wheel. Now down here we have this little fussy little shifter. Go reverse, go drive. One thing, it's a little kind of, if you've never driven this car and you jump in, you might have a little confusion how to get into park, because you go up here, it's not going to go over. You have to put the button in the front to go to the left. One thing I like about BMW is that they either have a button on the side or they have a park in the back where you can visually see it. This one being out of sight also makes it out of mind when you first use it. There are multiple drive modes available. We have Sport, Normal, and Off-Road. Those modify the traction control systems as well as the way that the all-wheel drive system is functioning. Closing out my look at this interior, I do like the frameless rear view mirror. That's nice. It is not a digital mirror though. Again, over 60 grand. I kind of wish it had that. You do get the eyeglass holder, and you also get a panorama sunroof. Visors, yes. They are white, and they will fingerprint like mad. So touch those only when you need them, because white headliner, impossible to clean, super easy to get dirty. Now on today's drive, we're going to first take it around town, and then we are going to test the off-road capabilities, because it has an off-road mode. I don't care if it has 21s. It also has 8.1 inches of ground clearance. very good actually for this class. So let's stop talking, let's start driving. So I have to admit, I'm pretty excited to be driving this car. I mean, a new Inline-6 turbo, this is gonna be good, right? One of the hallmarks of a luxury vehicle is how well everything comes together when you put the throttle down. Like, how smooth is the transmission? How smooth is the power? How confident are you behind the steering wheel? You know, is it going to fill you with confidence to go just a little bit faster around the next corner? So does this Mazda provide the same luxury experience? Because luxury isn't just nice leather. You can get nice leather in almost any vehicle these days. What really makes a luxury vehicle is how it all comes together in a way that kind of almost defies description. And I don't want to wax too poetic about it, but really a luxury vehicle is more than the sum of the parts. And that's a very important fact with a luxury vehicle. It's something where you drive and you're like, you know, I don't mind that little piece of cheap plastic down there, because the feeling I get from behind the wheel is elevated over a standard vehicle. It feels more special than a Kia. It has more power than a Toyota. It has more style than a Subaru. So obviously the bar is very high for Mazda, and I think that it's an uphill battle for them. Now, in terms of all the pieces that they've, thrown into this vehicle, yeah, it's got the nice leather. Yes, it does have an infotainment system. Not really going to talk much about that, though. Yes, it has a digital dash, which is really nice. Yes, the steering feels very good. And yes, it has an inline-6 with a rear-biased all-wheel drive system. These are all very good things. But I have to say, when I'm actually driving this thing, I'm just not feeling inspired. So when you're behind the wheel of, say, an Acura MDX, the newest version has just a fantastic revision of the super handling all-wheel drive system. It carves its way around corners like no other crossover. And then with BMW, there's the suspension, the way it just soaks up irregularities in the road and really holds its own in the corners. These are like, elevated experiences. Oh, and the BMW, the iDrive, I actually really like it. I think that it's matured into a very rich, savvy system, and I love how tightly these two displays are integrated on the BMW. Now here we have the same old infotainment, which is a mishmash of menus that have to be done with just a dial here. We do have a really nice display up here, but it just seems like, these two are very separate things. They do not really coexist together. They just happen to both be attached to the same vehicle. And then there's the engine of this vehicle. It sounds good, has really good pull, over 5,000 RPM, but, it just doesn't feel special. It doesn't sound special. Obviously they've tried to make it resonate with the driver, because you can hear this roaring in here. You don't hear any of that on the outside. The car is dead silent as it goes by. It's just a little burble of a gas engine. I kind of would like a loud exhaust on the outside, if anything, to let people know that you are in a luxury vehicle. They do have adaptive cruise control on this as well too. So let's give that a try. I'm going to go and turn it on. It changes my display to the adaptive cruise setup. Target this speed. Let's see if Mazda has added lane centering. So, there's lane. It's seeing the lane, but what's it going to do when it gets to a lane? It just pushes me back in. So Mazda still is sticking to their idea that you need to be the driver. We don't need to give you lane centering. The consumer should tell the manufacturer what they want, and consumers like lane centering. And having driven multiple states in a row, several times a year, I would say lane centering is a fantastic thing to have for long trips. It cuts down on fatigue, and I think that is one of the most important reasons to have that feature. And it's not here. It's just lane detection. The adaptive cruise works fine. It is radar based. We'll go ahead and turn that off. Okay. Now let's try a 0 to 60 and see what this thing can do. Of course, we have several drive modes. I am going to put it into sport, although I expect that it will produce no different of a result, because typically when you go to wide open throttle, that is a specific fuel mapping and throttle mapping. So you're usually not going to gain anything by changing. So let's go ahead and stage here. 3, 2, 1, and go. Full throttle. And 60. So that was 6.48 seconds, which is pretty quick for a vehicle of this size. So how does this feel in sport mode versus normal mode? Well, the throttle has a little bit more giddy up, the steering has tightened up, and that's pretty much all I'm really getting out of it, is a minor change. You know, if I switch into a sport mode in a BMW, it would make the exhaust louder. Yeah, this one doesn't do that. And then there's the whole driver attention thing, and I don't know if I'm going to get it to do it right now, but I have found that it is super annoying in this vehicle. There's a pair of roundabouts in Gig Harbor, just off of Burnham, if you know the area, and it's two roundabouts right next to each other, and you're often doing like figure eights or kind of weird combinations. When I go through that, it tells me that I am not paying attention and I need to start paying attention to driving. It gives me an inattention error, which in the middle of a double roundabout, it's distracting me, trying to tell me that I'm distracted, and I'm not. So it's actually adding a distraction. It's like, seriously, what is it looking at? It doesn't have a face monitor, so it's obviously taking inputs from the wheel, but has nobody ever done a double roundabout in the testing of this vehicle? I'm curious, because that's just weird. Also, when I'm teed out at an intersection and vehicles are going by, it'll often warn me an alert as I'm pulling out if a vehicle is in the opposing lane. It's not going to hit me. Like, why are you freaking out? It just seems like, again, for a luxury vehicle, you can't have these harsh edges. It needs to be a coddled, or at the very least, a more sure driving experience. This one, it seems like it's just packed with uncertainties and rough edges, and you know, there's that whole Japanese thing of Jamba Atai. No, that's Horse and Rider is one. What's the other one? Well, there's another thing where basically the idea of Japanese engineering ties into the idea of constantly making revisions towards perfection. You're revising. And I think that this vehicle is clearly a very good 1.0 effort. It has all the pieces, but it needs to be revised and tuned and improved until it is something special. Recently, I tested the Mazda CX-90 Meridian, and I really like that. I think with that vehicle, for the target market, it's a really nice vehicle. But I think with this one, they might have bit off a little more than they can chew at this price point. So I would say that for this vehicle, really what you got to look at is the lower trims. If you're spending this much money, I mean, over 60 grand is a lot of money. And I think that you could probably do better elsewhere. I would definitely pick an MDX before this. I just really like super handling all-wheel drive. What else? You could look at, if you want more off-road capability, because this does have an off-road feature, which we're going to test in just a minute, you could look at the Lexus GX. That pairs really nice features. Granted, it's an older chassis, but it's a really nice setup, and it is refined, and it is capable, and most important of all, it is reliable, because that thing has been around forever. But it has had subtle updates every year to keep it on trend with what people currently want. So we've driven this on the road. It's quick, it's comfortable. These seats actually are pretty comfortable, no complaints there. And of course, they're heated and cooled, all good things. But this does have an off-road mode, and we'd be remiss if we didn't test it. Now, yes, it's on 21-inch wheels, and yes, it has all-season radials, neither of which are good for off-road stuff. But we're not gonna let that dissuade us. We're gonna hit the course and see how it does. So here we are now lined up for Chicken Run. This is our easy crossover off-road course. This will test really the ability of this vehicle to shift power left to right, because when we go over these double humps up here, it's going to absolutely remove traction off of one or more tires. And when those wheels get suspended up in the air, power is just going to flow out of them. So this is a real good test to see, will it do wheel braking? And if it does, how good is it? Can it push enough power to get this vehicle up and over? Because it is on a slight incline, so there's no cheating in just rolling through this. We've taken a number of other vehicles through this with varying results. If you check out our other reviews, you can see how that all went. So I'm going to go ahead and toggle this over to off-road mode. That's going to change my display. It doesn't really give me any additional meaningful information. It just adds a compass to the middle. Now I'm going to go ahead and start driving. I have this nice surround view camera system. These first humps are really just to feel if there's any grinding that's going to happen. Okay, so far so good. Now we're going to line up for the bigger humps here. Oh, because we're in off-road mode, it's also going to smooth that throttle in a little bit, but because this is an 8-speed wet clutch system, it's just going to be a little jerky. So let's get this lined up. So I'm going to use the camera here to try to line up. It's such a small camera, it's kind of hard to tell. And over that little log there, a lot of jerkiness. Because yeah, even though this has smoothed out the throttle because we're in off-road mode, it's not changing the final drive, and it's not changing, there's no low range. There's really nothing to help us really crawl here. So let me make sure I get over there, close to the side as possible. Okay, so now, curious if we're gonna grind. Nope, not yet. This is a long wheelbase. We haven't taken anything with a wheelbase this long. So listen for grinding. Ooh, 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 that's a lot of grinding. Let's rewind that and see if I can get over that. Huh. Okay. I don't know if we're gonna get over this. Let's try it again. I'm gonna move the vehicle over this way a little more. Or actually, I'm going to cheat and I'm going to straddle over here just to see if we can get it up in position to get that wheel removed. Because we're clearly grinding a little bit over there. And in practical sense, these cameras, for some reason, I just can't seem to get them to line up with where my wheels actually are. I'm having trouble actually seeing what's going on here. Okay, up and over. Going to 2-pedal it so I can control the brake. Really close. Oh, departure angle is rubbing on a log. Oof. Okay, so let's see what we got here now. Okay, I really want to get through this. So we're going to add a couple logs here. They should help elevate that rear wheel. This is ridiculous. Okay, and yes, they are super rolly, so hopefully that doesn't cause a problem. And let's see how that rear bumper fares now. I just feel like this really isn't made for this. Front camera. Okay, hopefully we can go on the logs. Listening for scraping. Okay. Oh, let's take a look outside. Okay, the logs helped. Scrape the bottom. We're gonna high center over here. We're absolutely grinding and I'm not yet even starting to climb. Unfortunately, I can't get this through the course. We've high centered over on the right and I just can't go forward. I would have to build more contraptions to get this thing through, which kind of defeats the purpose. If it can't get over this, it can't get over much. So closing thoughts on this new CX-90 in the top trim. I think that it's a lot of money for a Mazda at this point in the game. I can, however, see where they're going with it. And I think that in the future, this may be a very compelling option. And I have hope because Mazda's CX-90 is such a great vehicle for its class. Also, the Miata, still one of the best. So I feel that Mazda has the potential. They just need a little bit more time to get there. For Driving Sports TV, I'm Ryan Douthit. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, share videos. We make them for you, and I hope you enjoy them. And I hope I can get this off without ripping a bumper. Get off those logs. Stay on the logs, come on. You want to shift those logs too far off? Okay, I think we got this. Feeling confident, feeling good. Okay, we did it. Whew.